Hey guys, Old Man Zoo here. I just wanted to kind of do a kind of mid-month check-in. I had some great responses on the Symbolism of Castlevania video that I put out, and I just wanted to kind of not only just check in, but also check out some of the responses that I got. Some of the responses that kind of got my brain thinking, and some great insights. So let's just get right to it. So I've got a comment here from Retro Emulation Archive. I'm just going to kind of slash quote and slash paraphrase what he says. He says that Medusa in myth was never a beautiful woman, but a true Gorgon monster. And so I was like, what is that? Is that true? And yes, sure enough, when I went to kind of look back at some of the research I did, yes, in the original Greek myth, Medusa was always meant to be a monster. However, where I got this idea of Medusa having once been a beautiful woman was from this guy. This guy is Publius Ovidius. Sorry, I've already forgotten how to pronounce it. Yeah, sorry, Publius Ovidius Naso, who was a Roman poet. So he basically took the Greek myth and he added his own twist, and basically he is responsible for the idea of Medusa having once been beautiful. It's kind of interesting because if you read, and I've actually got a translation of his work here, but basically in this version, he talks about how Medusa was a woman, or at least kind of mentions her as a Gorgon, but that she was beautiful, so that she had a feminine form. And so I'll read just a short passage here. This is from Ovid's work called Metamorphosis. So he says next. Oh yeah, and just to give you some context, this quote is Perseus. He's already killed Medusa, and he's already basically saved the day, and he's talking to a prince, and this prince, I think they're like sitting at a table, and they're basically sharing war stories, and the prince wants to know about Perseus's adventure and basically his encounter with Medusa. So here's a little passage I'll read real quick. He says, next, one of the many princes asked why Medusa, alone among her sisters, had snakes twining in her hair. The guest replied, since what you ask is worth the telling, hear the answer to your question. She was once most beautiful, and the jealous aspiration of many suitors. All of your beauties, none was more admired than her hair. I came across a man who recalled having seen her. They say that Neptune, lord of the seas, violated her in the temple of Minerva. Jupiter's daughter turned away and hid her chaste eyes behind her aegis, so that it might not go unpunished. She changed the Gorgon's hair to foul snakes, and now, to terrify her enemies, numbing them with fear, the goddess wears the snakes that she created as a breastplate. So that is where I got this notion that she was once a beautiful woman. It wasn't the original myth. It was Ovid's basically, can we call it fan work of the original Greek myth. As basically a Roman, like in anybody who follows sort of the memological progress of a lot of Greek myths, they got a rework, and they got kind of filtered through the Romans, and so that's why you've got twin names for a lot of Greek gods. So like Neptune, lord of the seas, that would be the analog for Poseidon, the Greek god of the seas. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. I was trying to figure out why I thought what I thought. So the commenter is not wrong. In fact, he is correct. However, apparently I was thinking of the Roman version of the myth, so I thought that was interesting. And then another part of his comment is he talks about the symbolism of fire. He says, fire symbolically is often transformative rather than purely purifying. And then he goes on to say that, and this is brilliant, what I thought he says, I believe hearts represent wealth, and in a vampire's castle, that wealth is blood. And yes, that is absolutely right. In fact, I think I like this interpretation better than what I mentioned in the video, is that the hearts are a type of wealth that Dracula is hoarding somehow. And so, which makes sense. It's not only a physical representation of basically a big old blood sack, but it is also sort of a representation of humanity, and that would be something that Dracula might covet on some level. Like, he thinks humans are beneath him, but he also covets what humans have innately. So I thought that it was a great insight, and I just wanted to kind of bring that up. So let's move on to the next comment. This comment is by T Nightcrawler. He talks about, and I'll just quote here, I think the color purple in Japanese mythology is associated with death, as purple fire too. So the ghost fire might represent that. And so what he's talking about here is the ghost enemy, kind of with the weird alien-looking skull that slowly chases Simon. Yeah, and this is a great insight, because as soon as I read that, I was like, oh yeah, like if you've watched enough anime. Sometimes whenever they're in like a haunted area, you'll see these little like bluish or purple fires that kind of float in the middle of nowhere. And that's supposed to kind of represent ghosts or supernatural events. And so that fits perfectly. That's a great insight. So that's basically exactly, I think, what that is. And then he also talks about, it says, as for the bird wolf entrance, and the bird wolf entrance he's referring to here is, as you're walking, it's the transition between the clock tower and the keep. There's that weird gate that really it's the only place that appears in the game, and I interpret it as a bird wolf entrance, but the commenter says that he sees a bear, and I quote, he says, I know bears have some crazy deep mythological meaning. It's kind of hard to tell though. And then he recommends a video from a YouTuber named C. Rec Ganford, who talks about prehistoric bear mythology. So I got curious and I got to poking around. I found this interesting article. This is on Sweet Ice and Fire Sunray.com, and talks about bears and maidens. And I won't go through the whole thing, but basically the gist is the guy that wrote this article goes through different cultures and what basically bears meant in each culture. And the common thread was that bears sort of have a taboo nature. But what really kind of stuck out to me was he talks about how bears live in caves and they hibernate in caves. And kind of pointing back to the Castlevania video, I talked about, the significance of caves as being portals to the underworld, right? And so if this gate is indeed a bear gate and it's sort of guarding the entrance to a cave or signifying a cave, then, well, what is in that cave? Well, in this case, what is in that cave is Dracula, and he is hibernating, or at least he was hibernating potentially in this cave area. So I thought that was a great catch on the commenter's part, because basically it fits quite nicely in that you're entering a cave and there's a beast inside of there, and that beast is this savage thing, and in this case the beast is Dracula and the cave is his keep. So good stuff. And then finally at the end he talks about rubies, that the crystal orb, and here we're talking about the magic crystals that the bosses drop when you kill them. He says that let's not forget that it could be a ruby, and then he mentions a video he watched where in the 10th century gems weren't cut with facets but instead were polished into, and I'm not sure what this word is, cabochons or cabicons. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but basically saying that this could be a stupidly large ruby. And so I went back. This is the Gem Society's website. I think this is where I originally got sort of the idea of thinking that this was a different type of stone altogether. But when I was looking at ruby symbolism, you can read it right there in the header. It talks about ruby symbolism in blood, which is a great fit for Castlevania, because you probably don't need me to tell you this, but how important blood symbolism is for Dracula's, and both literally and metaphorically. So yes, this could absolutely just be like a magic ruby rather than a heliotrope or anything like that. So yeah, good catch. This is probably more correct to think that it's a ruby, just because I think more people know what a ruby is versus a heliotrope or a bloodstone. So yeah, good insight there. Finally, this is from I Am Is Abby 1938. So this entire comment is actually worth reading in its entirety, but it's so long I won't subject you to that. But I would highly suggest you just find this comment and read it, because this commenter had a great analysis on Frankenstein. So I'll kind of cover the last part first and the first part last. So the last part of the comment is really talking about the Frankenstein encounter, and has some just great insights about the nature of Frankenstein, who refers to as Victor's Adam, which I don't know if that's from the novel or not, but I just thought that was a great characterization of the monster as Victor's Adam. Like that's great. Like that really sticks with me for some reason. But yeah, he goes into depth about basically the monster is a subversion of God and nature, because rather than being born, he's sort of stitched together. He doesn't have his own identity because he's basically made from different body parts, right? And that he didn't choose to be exhumed and cobbled together from the dead, and so he kind of right off the jump, he doesn't have a whole lot of agency, and he is only accepted, and I'll quote this much. He says in the comment, says, he becomes evil because only evil accepts him. And that's interesting, because that dovetails nicely with something I said in the video about how the path of goodness is a narrow one. And so it would totally make sense that without proper guidance, Frankenstein would just fall into an evil state. So that's great stuff. And then the first part of the comment talks about eagles, and I'll just read straight from it. He says, a hunting tactic used by some eagles involves dropping tough prey like turtles from a great height to crack open what they can't rend with their beaks. And so I've heard of this before. I think I've seen videos on it, and so I went to go look for like a little clip that I could play here, but instead I found this great screenshot. I'm like 99% sure this is somebody's Photoshop work, but it just cracked me up. So I wanted to share with you guys just the idea of an eagle dragging off an alligator, and then just imagine like where I live, there's a lot of hawks that fly overhead, and so I'm just imagining like one of these little hawks dragging an alligator and just losing grip of it and dropping a living alligator into somebody's backyard. I don't know, that kind of cracked me up. So yeah, this is great stuff. The eagles are maybe they're not so much that they're under control of the fleamen, but maybe they're actually attacking the fleamen, because they don't really attack Simon directly unless you run into them. So I thought that was good stuff. I didn't actually think about how the eagles themselves aren't particularly aggressive. They just drop fleamen on you, and so it's like, are they doing this at the command of the fleaman or at the command of Dracula, or are they just trying to eat a fleaman and dropping him from a great height? Like, it's anyway. I thought that was funny. I thought that was good stuff. Anyway, so those were just some of the comments. I appreciate everybody for taking the time to not only just comment about the video, but also leaving their own thoughts, because that's kind of what I want this channel to be about, is about thinking critically in sort of an artistic way about really truly evaluating some of these things as art and not just as a way to kill time, right? So I think it's worth doing, and I'm thrilled that I'm not the only one who is into this kind of thing. Like, I'm thrilled that there is a sort of Venn diagram where people who like sort of artsy symbolism stuff also play video games. Like, that's very encouraging. I'm hard at work at the next video. I had a list of 3 games that I was trying to decide, okay, well, which one do I want to do? And initially, when I first sort of conceived this channel, I was just going to pick a series and do every single one after the other, right? So the next video I was going to do was going to be Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. But then I got to thinking about it. I was like, is that going to burn people out? Like, because I'm going to just be talking a lot of, like, I'm not going to repeat necessarily the symbols that I've talked about, but it's sort of in the same vein. And so I still want to do Simon's Quest, but I thought maybe I break it up a little bit and I hop to a different game that isn't related to Castlevania, and I do something there similar to what I've done here. And so that is what I've done. I won't spoil it for you, but I will say that the research and the show notes are done. I've got probably twice as many notes for this next video as I did for Castlevania. So I'll try to keep the length of these videos under control. So if it goes way longer than 1 hour, maybe I'll break it up or something. But I'm excited to not only produce the video, but hear what you guys have to think about it, because I've found a lot of interesting things. So the deadline that I've set for myself is I want to try to do 1 video a month, and right now I'm on track for that. So stay tuned, because hopefully by the end of the month I will have Symbolism video number 2 out, and I am eagerly awaiting to see what you guys will have to say about it. Anyway, that's all I've got left to ramble on. I will catch you guys later this month.